So it is Monday, the 13th of June, 2022, and it is almost 8:30 in the evening. This is part of my journey, and this is episode 23. I can't quite believe we've got to this episode, but we're still going. And each one of my guests on this show talks about mental health. We've talked about anxiety, depression, stroke, suicide, emotional domestic abuse. And then we've also talked about 45s, about online communities and how they've been very supportive, especially in these pandemic times. And everyone's been very open and honest about their experiences. And yeah, it's been amazing. If you're watching this back on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It's free. If you're listening on Mixcloud, hit that follow button. If you're listening on Twitch, then join the conversation and come and say hello to us. But tonight, I've got a very special guest. He has watched and supported lots and lots of the Twitch streams and said that he'd want to come on the show and talk about his uh, perception of what's been going on over the last couple of years from the viewer's point of view, as opposed to us DJs who stream to everyone, because most of the people who've been on the show have been DJs. But yeah, without further ado, we got Gary GalAndHardy. How you doing, mate?
Hi guys.
How you doing today? You all right?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
It's nice to put a face to the name because obviously with Twitch, obviously names come up in the chat and you see Gallon Hardy and you see lots of other people who, unless they're streamers and DJs, you obviously don't see them from the other side. So it's nice to sort of see your face and be able to sort of have this conversation because I think it's an important one. It definitely is an important one. But we'll get to that part of it in a bit. I always ask my guests a little bit about their origins and about how they got into music. So, I mean, as far as you're concerned, when did you first get the sort of music bug, or when was music, a major thing in
Um,
your life? Was it family, friends,
yeah,
siblings?
my dad was a part-time DJ.
All right, cool.
A lot of it was youth club sort of dances, etc. I always remember. Don't remember much about going playing them out. I did go sometimes, but I was too young to enjoy it. Just to sit there. I was to delve into this big box. He used to have this big wooden box, homemade box that carried the 45s in. I remember stuff being in it like mud, Elvin Stardust.
All right,
I
okay.
did nick some out of it and dig some out. I remember getting my Frida Payne band of gold out of it and stuff, silly
Oh,
stuff
that's a
like that.
classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't remember that, but so my dad sort of left when I was about 8 anyway. Um, my mum was more the music one. She had the better taste. She was a mod. She was a proper mod.
All right.
She was really into the small faces and that side of it. So she
Okay.
really educated me. So when I sort of got into the mod thing at 12 years old, um, she embraced it, let me wear what I wanted, embraced me buying the clothes. In fact, that is me,
Okay. Hold on. Let me
12
get you
years
on a
old.
solo. Let me get you across there.
Uh,
Oh wow. What? How old are you there?
12 years old. That's at a wedding, but obviously you can see the blazer and the.
Yeah.
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 So, and the haircut, etc.
Yeah, yeah, no, that
So,
looks cool. That looks cool. And that was
um,
your. So that's the sort of stuff you'd want to wear, or were you dressed up because it was
yeah,
a wedding?
yeah. It's like, and because it's a mod revival, so a lot of people sort of influenced by the Jam and the Paul Weller, and the fashion was a bit different. But my mum
Right.
schooled me. She taught me how to wear like V-neck skirts with nothing underneath, and just a cravat, and you know what I mean, and how to wear my buttons properly on my blazer, and you know what I mean, and the right height for my trousers, and
Right.
it was, you know, so yeah, um, that was. But then sort of like musically, yeah, I got really into it. I had two paper rounds. I worked flower stall weekends on a Saturday and a Sunday, so I had loads of
Yeah.
cash. And I used to go digging all the time. We used to go record fairs, all the time. We used to go to a shop
Where
called
were you? Where
D.
were you living at this time?
I was living in Epsom in Surrey,
Okay.
so
So when
there
you
was
say go
some.
digging, was there a lot of record shops around, or was
Yeah,
it?
there was a fantastic one in Croydon called Dino's, which at the time was the biggest second-hand record shop in the UK. It was
Wow.
four stories high.
Wow.
Which for, yeah, uh, and it's got 10, 20p a lot of the stuff. Um, and then obviously we get the adverts for the record fairs, and we would go to the record fairs. there was another fantastic two-story hire shop in Morden as well, which was only a bus ride away. Kingston wasn't far. Of course, Beggars Banquet was there. That was a great
Yeah.
outlet at the time. Yeah. And then from the mod thing, sort of evolved to Northern Soul as subcultures evolved,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
into the Scooter Boy, Northern Soul thing. And then, like from about 14, I was getting more into the soul side, like Carl Anderson, Buttercup, and stuff like that. And listening to stuff like that, I was having to look on the radio. So it was Capital Radio then, because I was in Epsom, I couldn't get Pirate. So I used to listen
Right.
to some of the shows there, Robbie Vincent, soul shows. Then, but when I used to go to my nan's when I was younger. My dad used to come and pick me up on the weekends because my parents were separated. We used to go to Deptford Market from the fountain in South East London. And I traipsed him every Saturday down this market for 4 hours. The markets were really busy. I hated it. Halfway down Deptford High Street, there was a record shop called Lee's Records. It's in fact the place where David Rodgan used to buy his from stuff. And you got Scott. They had big
Ah,
speakers outside. And it
that's
was the
interesting because
day.
I'm reading his book, and he definitely mentions that in there.
Yeah. And they'd have the big speakers outside, all the DJs and the locals would put up on the Saturday and they'd spin tunes and everyone would go, holla, holla, I want that one, I want. So as a little kid, I'd say, I want to stay here. So I'd move to
Right.
stay there. The reason I could actually stay there with all these big yardies like was my nan used to live in Lewisham, right on the front line on Lewisham Way. So
Okay.
obviously, it was all the yardies in the taxi offices playing dominoes and that. She knew them all. So she knew they'd look after me. So my nan would go
Wow.
traipsing market, my aunties and that. And I'd spend 4 hours listening to reggae. This little skinny white boy, tucked in the corner, occasionally being given a can of pop. Yeah,
That
so I
sounds
just
amazing, though.
yeah, and that sort of stuck with me.
But
And
it's
then
a
when I was
little bit like we'll talk about community in a minute. But I guess in that sense, your gran had the community of all these people who were just hanging out at the reggae at the shop.
yeah,
And again, it was the trust there that she could just leave you with them.
yeah, I used to get
Amazing.
if I'd go to the corner shop and you'd get some wino call me or something to the guys outside the tax office playing the dominoes, whatever. Some drunk sort of, hey boys, they say, "Oi, leave Connie's boy alone." My nan was called Connie. I knew her.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was sort of, yeah, and that's sort of moved on to. I remember at age of 15, I was so desperate again to see this reggae again live. So I took myself on my own to Clapham Common to Reggae Sunsplash.
Wow.
15 years old, Maxi Priest. Oh, the list goes on and on. I saw Yellow Man a lot. It was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I sort of dug deep and then started getting back into reggae. Um, 16, 17, I moved to my dad's in Kent. I was a troublesome kid. and
Right.
then, yeah, and that's when 18 years old, boom, rave come in. I was living in Kent. Everyone in Kent at the time was near the M25 and spent their weekends training around looking for illegal rave. That's what we did.
Yeah.
That was a big part. But I still liked the hip hop from liking the soul and the reggae. So
Right.
even though my friends were listening to your typical house, your rays and Break for Love, I was still buying De La Soul and and stuff like that, and Tribe Called Quest and the Jungle Brothers, and you know what I mean. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
like, yeah. So it sort of
And
just
I
evolved.
think I mean, a lot of us here in the UK know what the rave scene was sort of like, but there may be some people listening or listening back who weren't. But these were the days before the internet, before mobile phones, wasn't it? I mean, when you were going to these parties, I assume someone would have to go to a telephone box and get a
Yeah, so
number and find out where the party was going to be, and then
you
sort of
get a flyer, you know what I mean, you'd be interested in with a number on, or as you say, through the pirate radios, yeah. You could spend 12 hours traipsing, going to different pickup points for false information.
yeah,
You'd be up and common one minute, Blackheath the next, Dartford the next, and still end up in Guildford before, and it ended up at the racetrack, you know what I mean? It was like, so
we,
yeah.
we got double P in
That's
the house,
right.
and
Like
he
big
says the rave
Blackheath
scene was awesome.
I had a big collection of records. So I started getting asked to play,
Oh wow.
etc. So I was like, and small little functions around the Kent area. Um, and then I sort of age of 20, I was still off the rails, got kicked out, um, homeless, ended up in Centre Point as a kid,
Right. God, that
through the
must have been
foster
tough.
system, and ended up in Ladbroke Grove and stayed there for like 10 years. And then I really got schooled in music, and I was still playing about, and meeting different people,
Yeah. So that's it. So that's in London then. So Centre Point
Yeah,
was pretty much bang central, wasn't it?
yes,
Sort of Tottenham
yes,
Court
so
Road. I
yeah.
think it's still there.
Berwick
The
Street,
building's there, isn't it? I
yeah,
think.
it's all Berwick Street, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so you're still sort of DJing at this time,
Yeah, yeah,
out and
bits
about.
and pieces, yeah, yeah. Through a few parties, etc. Um, then it sort of stopped because the concentration was on not getting homed, etc. Um,
Right. And
then
was the
after
stuff you
that,
were playing then? Obviously, you described like a big love of reggae and hip hop, and rave. So what were you playing then? Were you playing all three, or were you
yeah,
playing a particular one?
playing my bag. I remember once I got asked to play um, dad's work colleague at a party in this back street in Brixton. I think it was on Rayton Road. I remember my bag, and I was lucky enough I took the very bag. So I had things. I remember what was in the bag actually. I had things like
Yeah.
Shabba Ranks, Deborah Glasgow, Telephone Love, Soul to Soul in there, Ultramagnetic MCs. Because I remember it was about the
Yeah.
only rapper I knew, and these two little boys turned up in their shell suits with flat tops and their big troop trainers. And when I
Right.
give the drummer some, they just wanted me to play more and more. So I just had to keep playing like this album back to back because they were fantastic dancers and everyone was loving them in the dance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that you could do that back then, couldn't you? And people just listened to it and loved it. Soul to Soul and all that sort of stuff was great. And it was such a big different scene that they'd built up as well, wasn't it, back then?
Yeah, well, I remember seeing like, but some of the flyers. I remember there was one flyer we had for biology. But it wasn't saying the name of the PA, but it had all the sort of music that had been played on there. Obviously, Fabio and Groove Rider were meant to be on the
Yeah.
bill, people like that. And it had Public Enemy, BDP, you know, Candy
Right.
Staten, all
Yeah.
next to each other, and that's the sort of music you was gonna hear, it wasn't all, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
piano, whatever.
Cool. So this is about sort of big early 20s, did you say?
Yeah, yeah.
How did things sort of progress from there?
Um, Eventually sort of got rehoused, moving around. Was in a relationship, stopped for a while. For about 7 years, didn't really play out much, but I was still collecting. I was buying lots of reggae. I was going to lots. Girl I was seeing at the time, her dad was actually a bouncer for the Tudor Rose in Southall, where a lot of the
Okay.
dances are held. So I could get into these dances for free. Was a little white boy and not get looked up and get looked after because there'd be no trouble coming my way because I was
Right.
getting, you know. So that was quite cool. With some dances that I never would have gone to if I didn't have that that contact. I'd never been able to get in or go.
Because I
Just
mean,
to
were
see.
you one of the only sort of white people there, sort of going to
Yeah,
these
well, there's
things?
quite people there, but they, were in cliques and had friends or grown up. I didn't really know no one. But it was
Right.
just fantastic to see this music how it's meant to be played as such. You
Yeah.
know, 10 seconds and dub plates and more crowd appreciation and mad MCs and stupidly horrendous sound systems. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, and that sort of slowed down. And then after about 10 years of that, I was in that relationship 7 years, and that's the time I went to Glastonbury. Um, but when I'd come
Well.
back to
Yeah.
Glastonbury, um, I got pneumonia
Oh
at
God.
Glastonbury. I started work 3 days off. 3 days after coming back from Glastonbury, I had a pain in my shoulder, and had this. Thought I sprained it. Went to hospital, got really worse. Had pneumonia, um, and then I was with. Straight after that, I was hooked up with a different girl. That lasted a year. That ended, and then I got diagnosed HIV positive. Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
God.
and I was in a monogamous straight relationship. Well, apparently monogamous straight relationship. And then six
God.
months after that diagnosis, I had a motorbike accident where I'd smashed my spleen and my left kidney up.
Oh.
So I had that to deal with, and obviously your spleen is in charge of your immune system. So I was buggered. It was like lucky to be here for Michael, whatever that is. It's like,
Yeah. Well, let's just pause there because there's quite a lot of
yeah,
things have happened that you tell me about, in that just that short period of time. Um, we'll put Glastonbury to one side because we had a chat about Glastonbury before, and that's fine. But yeah, I mean, getting that diagnosis of HIV positive, how did that hit you? At that time,
um,
what was going through your head?
big cloud. Just had to take everything in and every advice that was given to me. I was straight away on medication. Um,
Yeah.
my blood when I got diagnosed, I was dangerously low. I think the CD counts like 350. It's like stupidly low, near enough full age diagnosis.
Wow.
Never been ill. You know, um,
Yeah.
not a blemish on the skin. Not lost weight or anything. So no signs of it. But the tablets they gave me, it was new then. Well, not new, but the medication wasn't as advanced. They were bastards. They were slow. They were
Right.
tablets that give you nightmares, cold sweats, but they made your
God.
results good. So it was like, you know, there wasn't a lot of funding for it as well. So I spent 6 years fighting to get off this tablet and fight a different combination. And that absolutely screwed my head, that 6 years. You Um,
Because what age were you at as well when you got that
uh,
diagnosis?
so 25, yeah. So 26, yeah.
God,
26.
still young, isn't it? That's still really
Yeah,
young.
yeah,
And
yeah,
obviously
oh, yeah,
things have moved on. Things have
yeah,
moved on in terms of medication now for HIV, with the retrovirals and all of that. But it was still that would have been what? How long ago was that? 15 years, 20 years?
yeah, yeah, 20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So things were still, very different. And I guess that's coming off the back of the adverts we used to have about HIV here, which
Yeah,
basically was saying it was pretty much a death sentence. The
yeah.
adverts when it first came out.
But it still felt like that in a way because there was still a lot of stigma,
Yeah.
a lot less today, you know what I mean? But then, even like, how do you tell someone, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Or, you know, and you want to, you know. Um, but yeah, so I had that to deal with.
And I
So I
think the
just,
other thing back then is obviously it was viewed as like a gay disease, wasn't it?
oh, yeah,
It
yeah, yeah,
wasn't it wasn't accepted that straight people could get it. So like you say, that must have been very hard being able to tell anyone,
yeah,
or
yeah,
how not knowing how they're going to react to you telling them that.
yeah. So yeah, it was a bit of a mad time, that one. Um, but then I got 5 years into that. Someone asked me if I wanted this dog. And, sort of, I'd always liked dogs. Always had dogs around the family. So
Right.
look, we went and looked at this staffy, 9 month
Okay.
old staffy called Molly. And as soon as I opened the door, the dog just ran out and jumped in my arms like it chose me.
Right. Okay.
So we took her home, and it actually saved me. You know what I mean? She was my salvation. Give me purpose. You know what I mean? I had to look after her if I never wasn't looking after myself. You know what I mean? It was, you know, so that was a
It's someone else being reliant on you, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah,
And having to sort of keep going. So were you at a stage where you were obviously pretty low by this point?
yeah. And then not long after I got Molly, I got put on a new trial for new drugs,
Right.
for antivirals, and since then they've been amazing. You know what I mean? It's been undetectable. You know what I mean? Never no problems. Mm. Like
And
just
do you still have to take them? Are you still on
yeah,
the
yeah,
medication?
every day. But wasn't really an issue taking the tablets as such because I was already taking them for the lack of no spleen twice a day.
Right.
We're
Okay.
taking tablets, so I could just take them together. And so it really, wasn't really an issue. There was a point where I stopped taking them for 2 years just because I got fed up with them. and I was just like, I'm not getting ill from this. I'm not. No, there's no knowledge that I'm actually. It says that's my diagnosis. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just fed up with uncontrolling my life. You know what I mean? And I just thought, I'm having a break. You know what I mean? Perhaps because I didn't have a lot going on at the time. You know what I mean? That's why I did it. You know what I mean? But there was a point where I thought to myself, something didn't feel right in my body. I just walked up to the hospital. It's only 5 minutes up the road, saw a specialist. Look, I haven't been taken for 2 years. So they gave me a stronger dose for 3 weeks, and I was back up to normal rates. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't advise doing it to anyone. you know.
So had you just had enough of the medication? Is that why you
Yeah,
stopped?
just every morning, just like before before you can even have your cup of tea, or you know what I mean, or you have your breakfast. First thing you got to do is do this. You know what I mean, or make sure you know what I mean. You don't forget it before you go to bed. I was just like, why?
Yeah.
You know, never. In fact, if I did get ill, you know what I mean, it'd give you a kick up the arse, a reality touch. Why are you doing it? But there was never, apart from taking them, that was the only HIV related thing I had. it was like,
Wow. Wow. That's yeah.
yeah,
Must have been very tough to sort of deal with. And so now you're on the right meds, and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
helping.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, up until the start of lockdown, I was working. I was working as a bin man. You know what I mean? I was bloody
Okay.
good at it. yeah.
I mean, we've jumped ahead a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
when all this is going on, you get that diagnosis. You have it was most motorcycle
yeah,
crash, was it? You had
yeah,
or motor car, yeah.
yeah.
And I assume did that put pay to sort of DJing and going out and doing that, or are you still doing a bit of that?
Once it got better, and then I'd had the dog for a couple of years. I met someone, a friend, and we started going clubbing in London. We
Okay,
wanted something a bit different. We was fed up with the Essex scene. It was all funky house and bits and glamour. You know what I mean? There wasn't the independent promoters there. It's like all them venues have been sort of shut down. It's all a bit clicky. Yeah. Anything that was cool. So we sort of went to this club called Antisocial in Shoreditch. That a friend had read
right,
about, and it just blew us away when we walked there. It was full of drag artists, people doing performance art. They were playing everything from hot chip to basement jacks to electro stuff that people have made, you know what I mean, that lived in the area. It was just fantastic. And we didn't realise that one of the DJs was a friend I was with. He was a hairdresser.
right,
M- Mum was his client. So he sort of knew of him. So we introduced us and they just took us on board that night. We went to an after party.
yeah,
And it was a really cutthroat, underground, like really groundbreaking club at the time, Antisocial. You had like Jodie Harsh, the drag artist there, who's now an international DJ. She was a regular. Mark Moore from S Express,
yeah,
Disco Boys. Yeah, Hannah Holland, Warboy, Percuex. It was all. Um, and yeah, and as I got more involved, and friends started doing more performance art and started to become part of a dance troupe there to hype up the crowd. They're called the Fresh Flesh. They dressed up like zombies and like sexy zombies and danced on stage, etc.
right,
um, I got asked to DJ. Yeah, the first
cool,
time I DJed there was actually straight after Kim Jones, the designer, who now works for Christian Dior.
wow,
so,
wow,
yeah. And we used to go to after parties and all the Horsemeat Disco. And I got, my Jim, my Moon Mark, Jim Stanton, etc. from Horsemeat Disco, Mark Moore from S Express. I was just getting gigs all over the place. I was knocking about with a guy called Buster who now runs a DJ academy in London called London Sound Academy. I don't know if you've heard of
right,
it.
okay.
His venture. Yeah. So yeah, I was into that for a
So living
while.
living the dream back then at that
Yeah,
stage.
yeah. So we was all on the covers of like ID and all them sort of magazines. You know what I mean? It was like it's quite funny. And then during that time as well, I got involved with a fashion designer who had also had a clothing label. And he was in a band called God Sausage. It was
Right,
electro punk. Um, and I sort of came there, sort of tour DJ and performance DJ. It was all very hand in hand with the clothes. Very Sedgenaires, Malcolm McLaren inspired, yeah, sort of stuff. I think Scotty Boys heard one of the tracks and seen one of the videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can definitely see Scotty Boy in that sort of scene.
Um,
Um, so that I mean that at that point it sounds like everything's going pretty well.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then yeah, that sort of scene sort of died. It was all part of the new rave scene, that
yeah,
scene that went. It was all part of died on its arse, what I mean? And I just sort of broke away. Everyone got a bit older and started venturing out and doing things. All the DJs started settling down, becoming producers, etc. What I
right,
mean? All the girls obviously found the boy of their dreams and got them pregnant. You know what I mean? So everyone sort of broke away. You know what I mean?
right,
Um,
yeah,
so I haven't really done it for a while. I'd had loads of records nicked off me through the years, like loads and loads. I've still got some at my mum's. God knows what's in there. But yeah. So now I did buy Rain One, but I sent it back because it was faulty, and now I bought turntables, as you can see.
you got yourself some turntables.
I have, yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Okay, well we might be seeing you on the streams very soon then.
yeah,
Well, let's jump a little bit further forward then to Twitch. Obviously, I mean, you said that you were a bin man up until the pandemic. Is that right?
yeah. Because obviously I had no spleen. It was nothing to do with the HIV. I was classed as immune suppressed because I've got
Yeah.
no immune system
Yeah.
basically.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Spleen does. So I had to shield. Um,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
getting full wages from work, even when it went down to 80%. And then right at the end of the lockdown, um, sorry, jumping a bit there, and yeah, so I was sort of stuck for things to do. I'd always listened to a lot of stuff on YouTube. You know what I mean, like your Funky Chefs, David
Yeah.
Walsh,
Yeah.
I listened to, Jazzy Jeff, a few others, Boiler Rooms. That everyone did, and then I started seeing that more and more people were getting cut on Facebook,
Yeah.
cut on Facebook. So they were moving to Twitch, and I finally
Yeah.
did it, and sort of delved in lightly. Um, yeah, and it was just like sort of sat back, lurked like everyone does, and then sort of every now and then you can't help yourself. You're just like saying, "Oh, asking for a request," or you know what I mean, because you're getting excited by the movement and the mood that's in the chat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the first people I spoke to was actually you, I think, and I'm not.
Okay.
It's rattling in my brain how I come across you on
Yeah.
Twitch. I cannot make the connections. I don't know how or why.
The thing is,
I
it's
think,
not that long ago, but it seemed like a lifetime ago
yeah,
before we got on Twitch. And I mean,
yeah.
it's probably
He was playing a
2 years.
Saturday, and
Yeah.
it wasn't busy, and he
Yeah.
was playing some full reggae, and I sort of commented, and obviously
Yeah.
we was chatting. Um, he obviously knew that I knew some of what I was talking about with some of the
Yeah. Yeah.
things I was saying. And that was cool because I was getting a bit of feedback. Other people were obviously from there on were like saying hi, and it was great. And I thought, oh, let's delve more into this. Let's start following. Let's start set up the account proper. Um,
It's a
and
weird one, isn't it? Because going back to when we first started, like none of us really knew what was going on and what it was about. We were just sort of putting ourselves out there and seeing what would happen. And it is amazing this sort of little community. Like, now we can't imagine you not being in the chat. It's one of those, isn't it? And sort of thinking
yeah,
back to when we first sort of
yeah,
interacted on the chat. And the same with that. But that was that a direct result as you obviously being stuck at home? Obviously,
yeah.
because
I
you can't work, so
never
you're stuck at
watched
home with
telly
nothing.
anyway. Never watched telly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I always listen to music. So it was, I just enjoyed it and sort of got more into it. Sometimes I find myself even watching the cheesy streams, you know what I mean? Just because the chat was bubbly, it was more active and I found my feet on what I could find.
yeah.
And then,
But were you watching a lot at the beginning? I mean, I know I was streaming
yeah,
less than I am now, but I was watching a lot.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
on
too much.
24/7
And
pretty
I
much.
needed to filter out a bit actually because I
Yeah,
was just watching for the sake of watching sometimes. And I needed to kind of thought there's so much more than some of the stuff I'm actually, I need to dig a bit deeper.
yeah,
And obviously, I found you guys. Um, and what I loved about you guys was that you're searching for this format on 45, but
yeah,
you're digging deeper.
Yeah.
and proper digging, and because it's 45, someone label might release 45. You're searching that catalogue, you know what I mean, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you're going to shops, as I call it, do you know what I mean, and digging,
Yeah.
But
Certainly are.
but a lot of the guys are just, that they're just getting files sent to them or got a subscription to something, getting the
Yeah.
files, they're playing them on air, and but that's what I liked about you guys. It was like the
It's a
digging,
very different,
collecting
yeah, it's a
this,
very different
yeah,
DJing process, isn't it, from what we
yeah,
do?
yeah,
And I say it also, no disrespect, any digital DJ, anyone who
yeah,
plays, digital is,
yeah,
that's what they do. And obviously, a lot of people can't, we've got a little bit of a luxury in that we can afford to buy records for a
yeah,
start. And a lot of people just don't have that luxury at all, and have to go searching for it, but they still want the passion and the DJing. But yeah, I think with us, and it's been said before, obviously because you have to go and buy something and physically own it, there's just a much bigger connection with what you're playing than if you're playing a digital file.
totally. Yeah. And then I come across Sam as well, about 2 weeks
Yeah,
after, and I was doing the same thing with Sam as only stream, and I was saying this tune and that tune. After about his second stream into it, and he just turned around and he went, "Gal, I can see me and you doing a collab." Because obviously knew I
yeah,
knew my shit, It's like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? To get
yeah,
that
yeah.
again, And I thought, hold on a minute, lovely music. Why don't I just get back into it? And it was guys like you know what I mean? I thought I could do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what the aim is to do. You know what I mean? To play and stream. So
I mean,
you know,
what I've loved most, I think, about what we do is gradually getting people onto the streaming platform.
yeah,
People who haven't necessarily streamed before, or maybe have DJed, but people like Double P had done a little bit of DJing, but obviously we
yeah,
encouraged him and got him on. Mark Lancaster, it wasn't us that got him to do his first stream, but we've sort of welcomed him in, and he's done loads of that. And the same with people like Scotty Boy. Eventually, I helped him to get on, and it's great seeing people sharing the love and sharing their record collections. And I'm sure, once you're back on, when you dig out those records from your mum's house or wherever they are, I'm sure there's going to be some really interesting stuff for us to listen to.
Oh, someone's still in the long night again.
But yeah, so you just bought decks. So
Yeah,
I guess it's getting them set up, making
yeah,
sure everything's all sorted, and then it's sort of going down the sort of streaming.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Still got a mixer to get. I'm getting that this week, and then we'll go from there.
so we might see you on the 45 Kings one day.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you a little slot. So how was that? Obviously, because how was that for your mental health? Finding not me, but finding us and people sort of streaming who obviously have a similar passion. How did that assist you?
Oh, it was. I hadn't talked to no one for like 2 years. You know what I mean? Apart from a neighbour. It was like, it was funny because when I went to get my second jab, I bumped into my neighbour down the high street where the jab
Right.
centre was. I was overexcited that I actually bumped into someone that I knew on the street. It was like, even though it was my neighbour, it was like, but it did, and plus, as you got to know the streams, you got to know who was on. So you
Yep.
got like, you was having what, they might be in Australia, but you was having a cup of coffee with them in the morning,
Yep.
and it's brilliant, they know that you're doing that, it's like, I just think it's fantastic, you know what I mean? And there's no, I've not really come off once any hostility on there at all in any way, really. From what I've
There's
seen.
yeah, there's been a tiny. I don't think we quite got subjected to it. There was a little period of sort of like hate raids and things like that were going on, and occasionally you might get someone who's just. I had someone the other day who was uh, basically accusing me of not being able to spell because I'd spelled organize with an S, and they were obviously American. And I was like, well, no, that's how we spell it in the UK. It doesn't. And she was like, oh no, you're spelling it wrong. And that, and I was just like, what, so I just like block them. But yeah, it is this community, isn't it, that's sort of built up, and it's easy for us now to forget what. I mean, obviously you had to shield, so that's very different to obviously what I had to do. But it's easy for us to forget what was going on 2 years ago, because obviously now, certainly in the UK, everything's pretty much open, and you can pretty much do what you did before COVID. So it must be difficult to sort of go back and think that you simply couldn't do any of these things, and you couldn't go out, and your life was very limited.
Oh,
Um,
phew, you know, I was fortunate enough that I had two supermarkets not that far away that were open early for the vulnerable. If that
yeah,
didn't have existed, I don't know what I'd have done. You know what I mean? 'Cause I get so
yeah, because again, that's right, isn't it? Certain supermarkets used to open early hours for people who were shielding or people who couldn't get out or the elderly or whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, this stuff needs to be catalogued somehow because we sort of all forget. It's our memories are so short, aren't they? You sort of forget all these things were going on. Um, but yeah, and you know, it's sort of built from there a little bit, wasn't it? Because you ended up, we talked about this briefly earlier, but you ended up meeting up with Mark Lancaster.
Yeah, well, it was before the end of lockdown anyway. I fell off my bike
Right.
and fractured my wrist, compound fractured my wrist.
Oh God.
Since that healed, they didn't want to operate on it because it was the height of COVID, so I was fixed in traction. So it
Oh,
was every week recast, manipulated, put the weights on it, pulled into shape. The surgeon did advise me that I may have need an operation later in date, and now it's come to the fact that I've got that. When I make a fist, I can't grip an apple or something like that, or push,
oh,
or pull with that wrist. So I had to go through the long-winded process of leaving work, because they have to be seen to be helping you. So it was this long-winded process of going through their occupational health to see what
right.
was for me and if I was ever going to get that was long-winded and depressing. And I just wanted the money and I just wanted to go. You know, I was fed up chasing a dust cart anyway. I didn't want to do it no more.
Because that,
So
I
that,
mean, that must have been doubly hard. Because obviously, first of all, COVID's stopping you doing anything.
yeah,
You then injure yourself, and you can't get the help you need because of COVID.
yeah.
And then you're then sort of fighting with your employer as well to sort of try
Well,
and.
yeah. Now that
That's a lot
ended.
going on again, isn't it?
Now on benefits, but they slowly sort of I was still claiming universal credit, but I was still getting a bit of sick pay, and that dwindled down from work. So
Right.
there was lots of confusion with benefits. Remember that time when I was meant to do this last time and I couldn't do it because I had no
Yeah,
money.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's actually screwed me over for a month. You can imagine the stress I was going through with that, going to the food banks, you know what I mean, twice, and you know, sitting there at a food bank, and when the woman sitting there and they bring out all this shopping because she's got three kids she can't feed, she bursts out crying. I'm just thinking, love, you need it more than me. You know what I mean? But I got no choice. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's horrible. You know.
Well,
Yeah, but
it's a
that's all sorted
sad
now.
situation we've ended up in this country. You know, people a lot of people who probably never thought they would ever need a food bank
Yeah,
are now going to food banks because
yeah,
of what's going on. You know, it's a crazy time. So yeah, sorry, I interrupted, but so obviously you did meet up with Mark Lancaster,
yeah.
who's one of the 45 Kings and one of the 45 Collective, and that. So how did that come about?
Um, it was just through chat, and I think um, Mark put in a comment that he bought a controller and never used it. I
Yeah,
just wanted, I was itching to play music again. I had files and files of music and CDs which I've burnt onto for stuff, you know, over the years, you know, and all my old mini discs I've managed to put on file, you know what I mean?
yeah,
You know, and I just wanted to keep pressing stop, start, stop, start. It'd be nice, you know. Then you've got a little control. It's just fluid, isn't it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So I didn't know what he had, and I just sort of messaged him and said, "Hi, blah blah." He said you had a controller. Would you be willing to sell it? And he said, "Yeah, no worries. Like I wouldn't want much for it." He sent me a picture of it. I didn't really care what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, do you want to meet up? Do you know a nice place to have a cup of tea?" So we sort of met up on a Saturday, I think it was. Sat there. I think we sat there for about 2.5 hours, chatting away. You know,
Wow.
um,
Because this
he's
is
a
someone
great.
obviously you hadn't met
We
before.
mostly had been on the same dance floor because we lived in the same area and was into the same vibes. You know, what I mean, without even knowing it,
Okay.
because he knew people that I knew, etc., etc.
But you hadn't actually met in person
No,
or
no,
no until you met through the chat of
yeah,
one of the
yeah,
streams. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So you picked up that controller and then obviously were you just spending 2.5 hours talking about music and stuff?
yeah. Basically, yeah, and a bit about each other. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, when I said mention the word acid jazz, he lit up like his eyes lit
Yeah.
up like crazy and flashed me his collar. You know what I mean, and that was it. Talking to that cool boy for half hour.
Well, yeah. Well, we did the it was the jazz hobblers bright as the sun yesterday, wasn't it? And
Oh, he was fantastic, isn't he?
he was proper dapper in his
Oh,
three-piece suit.
a lot of cufflinks, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was nice. It was nice. I tried to wear my suit jacket. It kept catching the crossfader, so I had to take it off in the end. Yeah. So in terms of your plans, you're thinking you're going to get on the streams and
Yeah.
hopefully join us on one day. That's going to be quite exciting, isn't it? You think?
Yeah. I got an idea of what I'd like to do if I carried on with it as well for a sort of stream anyway, stream theme.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to do a proper rare groove show.
Nice. That sounds good. Well,
But
it's good. It's good to.
touch it, well, people touch that genre, but it's so deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
People touch the surface, but it'd be nice as you do, guys do. You know what I mean? Really dig deep.
Well,
Maybe
I
we
think I
should.
think the beauty of Twitch is it just lets us play what you want and also a theme. Like me and Sam doing the 45 Raiders things, like we did the sort of playing 45s at 33 or whatever. We can do that because it doesn't matter. We're not trying to fill a dance floor or impress a promoter or anything like that. So, like you say, you come up with a niche, a rare groove. That's going to work. You're going to just find people who are into it, and they'll definitely come along. And we got Tommy T saying he knows what you look and sound like now.
Yeah, gorgeous.
I'm not gonna disagree. So Twitch has been a little bit of a savior, I would say.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And the music is just fantastic. And the choice of DJs and what they play. All these bedroom DJs that have really studied their craft and not got a gig and now getting a chance. You know what I mean? And hearing the
Yeah.
stuff. You know.
It's I think what's nice for me is obviously I've DJed for years out and about at pubs and bits and bobs here and there, and obviously for me I'm back out doing stuff now, but it's nice to see people like Double P who hadn't done a live gig before having used the experience and hopefully the confidence they'd built up playing on Twitch to then go away and do a live gig for the first time. Put on his own night, he put on his own night as well. Which is it's saying something because again, it's showing that the confidence is there to sort of go and do something that you might not have done before the pandemic and before Twitch had sort of come along. So it's definitely important stuff there. Let's talk a little bit about music again, though. But you've talked about reggae, you've talked about rare groove, hip hop, rave. Is there any other sort of particular genres that you're attracted to?
Yeah, I like some rocky sort of guitars. I love the Kills,
Okay.
what Jack White does as well. You know, uh, Cramps, big fan of theirs. So yeah, that sort of Sex Pistols, that sort of punky stuff I like as well. The original sort of punk, I don't mind that as well. Yeah, into that. That obviously coincides with the Gobstoshy thing. We were very punky, and when I played out, if I played out a lot of their closed party launches, I'd have to play like New York Dolls and stuff like that. I mean, I had a big collection of that.
Yeah. Definitely. You said before the show, I'm going to sort of switch around a little bit, but you said before the show that you have some cool memorabilia or music items that people might be interested in. So do you want to show some of those?
I'll do a bit of showing yourself promotion.
Let me move you across there. Hold it up a little bit.
That's the Gobstoshy CD album that we did.
Wow. When did that come out?
This was 2007. So yeah, all very punky, self-made.
Alex, is that sort of coloured in and handwritten on the CD?
Yeah, all signed. Mostly got an inside message telling you to F off, most of the inside of it. You can see the two singers. That's Mark, who wore a gimp mask,
Yeah.
and Sitting who wore not much else besides glitter.
So that was, did you say 1997?
2007.
2007, yeah. Double P's collecting CDs now, so he's accidentally bought a few CDs on Discogs rather than 7-inch. So I'm sure you'll put an order in if you've got any spare copies.
Yeah.
But I mean, that must be cool, having your own band and also having putting something out there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
it was. Yeah, it was.
so it's a little bit of history. It's out there somewhere, and
I think for a
people
band
will have it.
we played at, it was all like that. Yeah, banned or chased out the venue. Yeah, it was. Banned
Yeah,
from the Scarlet for life.
yeah, yeah. What else? Have you got anything else? I think you said you might have a couple of things.
Yeah. This was when I was in hospital and I'd been diagnosed,
Right.
and I to do. I had no one come to visit me at the time, and I managed to drag myself out and walk down to round the library for a little walk, or around the wall for a little walk, and there was a
Yeah.
stall, charity bookstall. I had about £4, and I bought this for £2, and it was. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah. Stir it up. A reggae
And
album cover art. Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's good.
one for you actually. You can buy it cheaply on Amazon, but it's all the album art from
Wow, that is awesome.
yeah, with a bit of write up about the Roys and
That's dope.
yeah, yeah. You can get it on Amazon. See, it's all on there right through the stages. It's fantastic.
And that looks like it's about 12-inch. It's the size of a 12-inch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Imagine it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, about a 10-inch, I would say, compared to Stevie.
That's a
um,
pretty cool thing. And especially being into your reggae as well, I guess, was there quite a lot of those albums that you used to have?
yeah, yeah. Got a couple up here actually still. Yeah. Um, two up here. Things like this one.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
got
yeah.
that stuff like upsetters on it, all above on police and thieves.
Oh,
Man in the
classic.
Hill, burning stick, croaking lizard. You know, crackers.
Yeah, yeah. That's all very classic,
Um,
isn't it?
and have you seen a series as well called Reggae Britannia? It was a 4 or 5 part series.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
This is the book that it was based from. Hmm.
Ah, okay. I haven't got the
You
book. I
must
don't
read.
read a lot of books, but I should do.
Must
I
read.
just don't have the
Um,
time to read books, but that looks good.
this goes right down to true stories and accounts from like the cocks and guys that carried the guns to protect the labels of the records in the
Wow.
day, and it's just fantastic. And this, when I was working on the bins, there used to be a house every week, and I used to throw away all these magazines, and we used to pick up all these old book magazines, and I kept some. And this was
Okay.
Melody Maker from 1985.
Wow. He's
Now
that on the front? I'm
these
trying to work out who that is on the front.
That is Bob Geldof. This is a celebration. I think this is a Christmas one for We Are the World or whatever it was. Band Aid, yeah. You can see on the front cover it's The Dam, The Pogue, Zig Zig Sputnik,
Yeah.
Sade, Colt, Meridian. Yeah. But what I loved about these as well, in these, obviously, this is your avenue to find out about music, wasn't it? Because we didn't have the internet.
Back then, yeah, definitely.
So when you look in there, you've got your US disco charts, your US soul charts, Northern soul charts. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Um, these are sort
So
of picked out.
that's how you'd find music, and obviously hear stuff read about stuff that you'd probably never
Might
get
let this
access
one
to
for Sam
otherwise.
Speaks because I know he likes the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah. But that was the day because obviously there was the Melody Maker and there was NME, wasn't there?
Yeah, I've got both.
And there might have been some. I don't know if there was anything. I think they were the main two, weren't there? I'm not sure there was
Well, when
anything
I
else.
was, because I was into this, what, 16, 15, I was getting into the soul stuff. The
Yeah.
local shop in Epsom, I had to get them to order Echoes for me because no one else had heard of it in the suburbs of Surrey.
Right.
Echoes was the black music, an R&B magazine, a blues and soul. Sorry, yeah, I had to get that delivered to my. He had to order them in, especially for me. So they just didn't. of these magazines in white suburban Surrey. You know,
No, I guess it wasn't in sort of WH Smith's or the equivalent
no, no.
back then. So you had to go looking for it. But I guess in one sense that was part of the thrill buying stuff. You know, I mean, I remember when I'd buy records, but obviously I'd buy CDs as well when I was younger. And I remember going and buying each Monday, whatever the release was on that Monday, there'd be something. And obviously that's when new records would come out on a Monday. And obviously it's a little bit different now, isn't it? You know, because you can pretty much buy almost whatever you want, whenever you want. So it has taken a little bit of romance away from sort of going digging and reading about a record, finding out about it, and then locating it and then getting it. You know, it's almost the chase of the thrill of the chase, isn't it? Which doesn't, unless you're going to a record shop now, it's not quite the same these days, is it? No. And are you still going out digging? Are you going out to record shops at all?
I find myself not in record shops. When I look for records, I have
Yeah.
this strict. When I look for records, when I look for songs online to hear, yeah,
Yeah.
I go. I have a list of people like that you can subscribe to that have good choices. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, a distributor or whatever, and I look on them as if, and the way I look online as if I was in a record shop.
Yeah.
I won't look at suggestions that pop up. You know what I mean? As if I'm going to that shop. Yeah, and that's the way I'll do it. You know, I'm not going to get distracted to going down that rabbit hole because you can online. You know, I don't want
Yeah.
to do that. You know, I know what I like. You know, what I mean? So that's
It's
what I. That's how I
it's
do it.
yeah, it's a tricky one because I think you know I buy stuff in record shops. I also buy stuff online. I also buy stuff on Discogs, and what I'll do on Discogs if I find something I want, I will see what else they've got, what other sevens they've got,
Yeah,
similar to what you're saying, like being in a record shop. You're like, okay, well let's see what else they've got, and see what else might jump out at you. And sometimes it's that dig. You do find some random cover version or some reggae track you've never heard of before, or some hip hop track you've never heard of before, which again is part of the the thrill of sort of going digging and doing that. Now on the show, we always ask for, I always ask people to put together 3 45s that lift their spirits, and it's something that Mark Lancaster came up with in the very first show by asking the question, and off the back of that, I've launched an uplifting mix. So I'm getting people to do a 45-minute uplifting mix, a mix of 45s that lift the spirits. Obviously, you haven't got 45s, but you can tell us about 3 tracks that would be on 45 that you would have selected if you have. So let's go through those then. So what would be your first choice and
my
why?
first choice would be Chris Martez. The more I see you. Yeah,
Okay.
just
And why
because
is that? Why is that your first choice? What would that? Why do you love that one?
it's just a jolly tune, and I find myself out of more tunes than anything else. If I suddenly find myself in a good mood, I will be whistling that song and bopping along like you should, you know. And it's just one of them that just makes me feel jolly. And I don't think if someone just dropped it, no matter if I had the right raging, I'd lost a tenner or something, you know. If someone
Right.
just dropped the room, I would stop what I'm doing and just, you know, la 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 la. That's what I would be doing. It just makes me feel good. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and when it's dropped in a set unexpectedly, well, it's amazing. I've heard it dropped after CC Pennington's final league when everyone's been going mental. He just come with that straight afterwards, and it's just that was Norman J actually. You know, so,
That's
yeah,
yeah. I mean, well,
and
CC Peniston's a great
oh,
track as well, isn't it? But yeah, and we talked about this a little bit before. I think it was with Sam last week. It's a case of the way tracks are sort of sequenced or mixes are sequenced, and that record off the back of another record works, but then it might work completely differently in a different DJ set or in a different different setting. So yeah, that's cool. That's a good choice. So what's number two?
the second one, gutted I can't play it. Is by a friend.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's a take on Booker T and the MG's Green Onions, and the
Oh,
song is
classic.
called Black Leather. Yeah,
Right.
one artist called Grind Dame. She's a friend I met from the London scene called Tiff McGuinness. She's a girl from New Orleans, tough as leather, pretty as a button. Um, crazy as shit. She used to be in a electro band called Crazy Chick, and she was a crazy chick.
Right.
That was the persona. Then she did this groovy stuff, and she did a track called Black Leather, which is basically like Green Onions with 3 sets of drums, live drums, and electric guitars over the top, and she sings about Black Leather. Um,
Right.
I implore all of you to, after this, just have a look on YouTube and search Grand Dane Black Leather because the visuals are absolutely fantastic. She's a artist as well. She makes a lot of money. She now lives in Hastings.
Oh, okay. It's just down the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big green house. Sells art. Lives in caftans and yeah, she's brilliant.
Sounds like the life. Well, Green Onions is an amazing song. And my co DJ Adrian, Big 404, he came on this show, and obviously his dad, who sadly passed, used to be a DJ, and he'd always play that as his last track, of any set. He'd always play it. So Green Onion's definitely there. So yeah, definitely want to check that out.
This track, as soon as it comes in with the drum roll at the beginning, it just hits you, and then when the guitar comes, and then when you realise the riff, it just keeps smacking you in the face, and you're
Yeah.
blown
Oh,
away.
we'll definitely have to find that. Definitely.
And the lyrics are so catchy as well, yeah.
So that's two good choices, and it's interesting because you say exactly the same that all my guests on this show say. How do you only choose three? And it is tough. It is a tough one, but I think you've got a third one. What's the third one that you've gone for?
The last one I chose was "Have a Talk with God," Stevie Wonder.
Okay. Yep.
The message, even though I'm not a religious person, but it still gets you. And then again, that driving at the beginning, that intro, typical Stevie. He
Yep.
growls in it as well. And anytime Stevie growls in a song, you're on the winner. So
Yeah. Yeah. He's such a legendary artist, isn't he? And most of his songs are really great. That's three really good choices. What you got there? You got there he is. There is. He's an amazing artist. Cool. Well, it's been really good. I'll just double check something, and then we'll have a look at something else. So the other thing we normally do on the information is that we have confectionery corner, where I get guests to sort of bring sweets or retro sweets or something like that. And I know you said you definitely got some. So let's have a look at what you've got, and then we'll have a chat about it.
well, I went rushing up to the road because at the top of my road is a big B&M Bargains. So as you know, they have a great selection of retro sort of sweets. And so first I'm going to went in there, and I knew what I wanted to get because always bring the party. Is
Party rings.
yes.
Yes. Let's get those up there.
It's a nice land out there as well. And they're so versatile. You can eat them dry or dunk them. They're brilliant. I bought this because as a kid, I used to buy and eat this a lot. And I honestly used to buy about 3 of them on the paper round and just knock them down. I never used to eat the licorice out of them because I thought that was rank.
Right.
So I bought 3 today. Yeah.
Oh, I love sherbet fountains. I love sherbet fountains. Yeah.
They're wrapped up differently, all wrapped in cellophane. And I tried one earlier and wish I hadn't. However, as a kid, I do not know. Yeah.
Because they are very different, aren't they? Because I think the packaging used to be sort of paper packaging, didn't it?
Yeah,
and twisted, whereas now it seems to be like almost like a plastic lid, isn't it?
Covered in the old days, you just picked the top off, didn't you, and sucked it out there.
Yeah. I suppose it's sort of health and safety these days.
They'll be going in the drawer until someone else wants them because they were vile. And I bought the classic because they were 10p, and I bought 7 of them. I've had 2 already. There's a Chubba Chop.
Chubba Chops, yeah. Definitely. They're definitely a very popular choice. It's a very popular choice. That's great sweets. Yeah. And all taking us back to our youth, which is always good. And it just makes you happy, doesn't it? That sort of stuff. Definitely. So in terms of you getting on the streams, how long do you think it will be before we can see you on there?
Pick up mixer this week or next week.
Yeah.
Then I'll have to sort out a camera, which will must be beginning of the month, next month. Um,
Yeah.
I don't want to buy a £25 camera that I'm going to have to replace. That's what I'm trying to do, and you've got to take the time with it. I don't want stuff that I've got to replace, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah. You want to try and get something
yeah,
that will last,
yeah,
and go from there.
yeah. Honestly, I think I've got an SM58 microphone somewhere, so I just need
Okay.
for that. I've got 3 laptops. You know what I mean? All powerful enough to stream with. So you know, um, yeah,
And what do
just
you think?
make
Obviously, you're talking about a rare groove stuff. Are you going to be just playing music? Are you going to be doing chatting and talking about the records as well, or a bit of both? What do you think you're
I'm
going to
not.
do?
I that's the thing. The great thing about streaming because I don't have to commit, you know, as such. I don't know how I'm going to be. My presenting skills are going to be good straight away. You know what I mean, or whatever. So it's something I can roll into at my own speed. You know, which is the beautiful thing about it, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, Double P's reminding you that you need a sound card.
I've got that coming as well this week. I've got to
Yeah,
go and
yeah.
that, yeah.
And then, I mean, what I'd say is obviously do some test streams first. You know, don't tell anyone it's happening. Just do some streams, test it, make sure it all sounds and looks good. And obviously, if you've got a few people watching, then just say, how's it
Yeah,
sound? And then once you know it's up and running and it works, then obviously start putting together a show and or whatever you want to do, and just tell people it's happening.
yeah,
And obviously, I imagine you've got a reasonable number of followers already, because obviously you know lots of people in the chat.
yeah. Without even trying, yeah.
It's funny because there is it's not just you. There is some other people who are maybe just mods for other
Yeah,
people's channels, or maybe just people who watch lots of people's channels, and then they will just somehow have lots of followers because people follow them. So you'll have a bit of a running start, which will be good once you do start. So hopefully people will tune in.
I can't step in Sam Tweak's chat like without being spending the first 10 minutes saying hello back to everybody. You know, what I mean? It
Yeah.
drives me crazy. You know, what I mean?
And I mean that must be amazing. I mean, I still find it bonkers that every time I do a stream, there'll usually be someone new in there who I haven't met before, or some new person makes a comment, or a first time chatter or something. You're constantly meeting people, who
One
are
thing
like
I had,
minded.
well, I had a fantastic birthday thrown for me, didn't I?
Yeah,
Which was Sam sort of, he said something about a birthday sort of near
yeah,
my date. I said, can I crash it because I couldn't celebrate my 50 because I was in lockdown. And he said,
yeah,
sort of messaged me and said, well, it's your birthday. We'll do something for your birthday.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was just like, thought, yeah, whatever. And yeah, he sort of asked me to choose a playlist, and I chose about 25 songs for the whole stream as well. And I think he played every single one of them. Um,
right,
but in the morning before he come on at 12, I tuned into Sideshow Mall.
okay,
And
yeah,
Sideshow Mall straight away, hey, girl, Handy, he's gonna, it's your birthday, isn't it? So he knew just through
yeah,
hearing on the track. And that was it. He threw a party for me. Josie Styles was there, Dean Fraser's everyone brilliant as a usual
yeah,
self. It was fantastic. And he sort of led me, he raided into Sam, got into Sam's stream, and all of a sudden I just looked at the screen and it was just bombarded with these GalAndHardy emotes flashing in pink and yellow. And I was like, what is going on here? It's like, and he crashed in with um, unfinished. The Verve, the Uncle Mix for me, which I chose. It crashed
oh,
at the start at the beginning, boom, 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 and all these emotes just come up, boom, 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 and I was like, what is going on here? It was like just
I
amazing.
mean, yeah, that's mental, isn't it? That's like your own celebrating your party online with a load of DJs. It's
I,
just
I had the
it,
David Morales popped up here, and I screenshotted it, and David Morales goes, just pops up in the middle of doing press ups. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's David Morales doing press ups at their party. It was fantastic.
it's I
Um,
mean it is a strange universe that we're sort of in at the moment, but it's a really positive one. That's I think what comes out of that, and it's love. Obviously, you'd spent
yeah,
time on his
yeah.
channel and
So,
supported
yeah,
him,
yeah,
and he was throwing that support right back at you,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
was and that's the beauty of Twitch. It's like all of these shows that I do. It's everyone pretty much who's come on the show has been on a show or done a stream or I've connected in some way, and it's really nice to actually be able to have these conversations and connect with people a little bit more, a little bit
Yeah,
deeper than just a
I
bit
do.
of chat on whatever.
Yeah. With Paul Double P, I'll be chatting to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Quite regularly, getting to know him. That's cool. So yeah, it has been good. There was a time when I was away, when I was ill,
yeah,
when I was blood clots, etc. When I was meant to be on your stream, got back on Twitch, and I was just bombarded with messages. How are you? We haven't heard from you. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I was just like so touched. You know, it was like, wow, this is real. You know what I mean? People kept saying about community and love, and this is real shit. This is happening. It's good.
It is, isn't it? Because it's definitely like community, and it is one big family, really. And people noticed because it's like I describe it sometimes like a pub. You go into your favorite pub, and all your mates are there, and you're listening to your mate DJ.
Yeah,
If someone who's normally in the pub or normally in the chat suddenly is not in the chat,
yeah,
you do think, are you all right? Are you okay? What's going on? And it shows, the sort of love and the support that people were sort of messaging you and saying, are you okay? What's going on? It's really it's amazing. I think, it's just amazing what we've achieved. Really, and hopefully long may it last.
yeah.
So definitely,
I do.
definitely. Cool. So other than getting on the streams, any plans to get out and do any DJing or anything like that in
Yeah,
real
yeah,
life?
eventually, yeah, I will do. Yeah, see where it takes me. So I won't go back on the scene in London. That crazy stuff you did towards and the bones for all that now and the long
Yeah.
nights. So I don't think I can handle that music. I got a case the other day, and it was a case from the days when I was DJing in London, part of the new
Right.
road scene. Forgot I had it. And it's this. And it's basically I used to DJ with CGJ, so you can imagine there's 10 tracks on all these rips.
Oh yeah.
And there's like 75 CDs. But I lost the book with them all catalogued in, so I have
Oh,
no idea what
shit.
is on these. I played some the other day, and I was like, "Oh my god, what did I used to play? Stuff like Hervé and stuff like that, like real, um, yeah." I think and one CD sold here, Lady Sovereign, one of them,
Okay.
Voodoo people, yeah, yeah, just Errol Aiken stuff. I don't know what's on there. Yeah, God knows. Yeah.
But again, we talked about this and about how your music likes and stuff that you're into changes. And I've said before that the stuff I'm listening to now, I probably wouldn't have listened to like 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago. It's very different, but in a good way because I think like you say, what we've done has made us go a lot deeper into form and styles and genres, digging for that, elusive track that's going to blow everyone away on one of the streams. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing. Right, I'm just going to see if there's someone who we can raid to. I don't know if anyone's playing final at the moment, but let's have a look. We'll go and see DJ Clevo. Actually, he's a good friend. I don't think he's playing.
Centre's on as well.
Who's on? Sorry.
Centre's on.
Oh, Centre. Yeah. We could do Centre. Right. Okay. Give me 2 secs. Let me set the raid up, and then we'll go and see DJ Centre. Because he's always playing some great music, isn't he? Cool. So I think has that raid gone through? Didn't look like it. Can someone just let us know in the chat if it's going through? It's going through, all right? Is it? Just want to say thank you so much for being on the
My
show.
first ever turntable. I didn't show you this.
Oh, go on then. Go on quickly. Brilliant. That is brilliant. That is so cool. I think a lot of us had one of those at some point.
And it works.
Have you got all of the records? 'Cause I think you used to have 3 records in
I've
it,
got all the records. Yeah, I've got
like a
everything.
blue and orange and a yellow one, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you so much. It's been a
thank
lot
you.
of fun. It's been really good talking. Thank you again for your honesty and openness. You
I know.
said some
Cool,
stuff
man.
there really important and
Yeah,
personal.
yeah.
And I think it's good to sort of hear that, and obviously be able to talk about some of those things, and carry on watching us, but also hopefully you'll be on there very soon, and it'll be great. And then once you're on there, we can get you on a stream and take it from there.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Free. No worries. We're going to say goodbye. If you want to watch it back, it'll be on YouTube. If you want to listen back, it'll be on Mixcloud. But otherwise, we've got Pitch Rider's Guide to Glastonbury is happening Wednesday, but Sam's not available, so it'll just be me. I think I'm just going to pick out a load of tunes and see in the chat if people think I should take them or not. And then we've got Coffee and Donuts on Saturday. I think I'm on Funk Raiders Saturday, and then I don't know what we've got next Monday. I don't think we've got anything. A rare Monday off. But anyway, Gal, thank you so much. If you just hang on there for a second. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Take it easy.